Welcome back everyone to this next quick update of Deus Ex Human Revolution, in which today we will be looking into the Augmentations. Now the Augmentation system works a lot like that in System Shock 2, in which you spend upgrade modules in order to upgrade yourself, only Human Revolution has been simplified a lot more in the way that you spend a few practice points in order to unlock a new augmentation that will either help you perform stealth better, hack systems, or even tank a lot more damage. And one of the most important upgrades to get is the hacking. Now the reason why the hacking is important is because you'll encounter a lot of points where you'd either want to pass a door, access a terminal in order to, such as shut a robot down, or even open up safes that will contain prizes for your exploration. Along with this, one of the upgrades you want to get in later game is the Fortify, and really when you get detected you'll want to fortify all of your nodes, which you have seen me doing when I have been hacking, and that just gives you a little bit more time to fully exploit the system on the higher difficulties in which it is necessary to do. However, one of the hacking augmentations is completely useless, and that is the Hacking Analyze add-on, and that basically tells you what chances you have of being detected are and what's inside of the node, and as you already know, that is pretty much done anyway, so it's completely useless and already in the game. However, there are also other upgrades that you will be wanting, and I will be getting throughout this, what will really make things a lot easier for me. And the first one is the Icarus landing system, and that becomes useful in Shanghai when there's a lot of drops between all the buildings, and that basically allows you to fall from heights very gently and without taking any damage. And it also gets rid of fall damage altogether when you fall for slight drops that will give you some damage but aren't far enough for the Icarus landing system to activate. Another useful augmentation is the lung capacity modifier, and that will allow us firstly to breathe toxic gas, and there are points in the game where there are neurogas leaks, and that will basically act as a rebreather, allowing us to bypass those areas without being affected and losing health. It hasn't appeared much in Detroit, but later on as we enter some of the Shanghai missions, there are times when we'll need to get through areas filled with this gas in order to progress and really make things a lot easier for us, and even save lives at some points. Another augmentation that will make us bypass areas a lot easier and even take more damage is the Rhino armor system and the EMP cover, which will take us 4 practice points to get further into, but that will allow us to stay on areas where there's an electrical leak on the ground, to get past areas a lot more, and will make one of the boss fights a lot easier when we do get into that. One of the best upgrades for a stealth run is probably the cloaking device, and that will basically make you completely invisible to security cameras, robots, laser wires, and even people, and will really allow us to sneak past guys a lot quicker without having to faff about going through all the tunnel systems, and will allow us to go straight in front of them. It also helps a great deal in combat when you want to sneak up on an enemy. You can use it as a cloak right in front of them and get out of cover and flank them without being spotted. Other augmentations that help in combat are such as those that stop gun sway, or even those that stop kickback, and that makes aiming an ease where you don't get any kickback at all, so you get precision aiming in an instant. And along with these forearm upgrades, we can also have the ability to punch through walls, which allows us to access new areas, or even on the flip side, give us more inventory space, which will allow us to carry more loot, or even more weapons if you're going for that sort of thing. Along with that upgrade and the cloaking system is the Smart Vision, and that will allow you to easily see through walls and even lets you see invisible enemies that do come up at some points at the game, and that really makes it easier to track targets. And speaking of tracking targets, along with this there's also a stealth enhancer, which will allow you to track your own stealth and even tag enemies down so you can track them a lot easier when they're on patrol, and makes stealthing around them a lot easier if you can't exactly get good vision of them. However, not all augmentations are really useful at any point, such as the Typhoon System. Now for this system you actually have to have a separate amount of ammo, in which you go to a limb clinic and buy Typhoon upgrades, and that allows you to have an area of devastation around you, around an 8-meter radius that just blows everything up and kills it within that radius. And the problem is, once you get into that range you can pretty much do an instant takedown anyway, so it's pretty useless, and it also takes up some inventory space. So what augmentations will we be getting? We unlocked 8 practice kits altogether, and one of them was spent on hacking, and so we've got a level 2 hacking which will really help us out going through most of the areas of Detroit and a little bit afterwards. Along with this, we also want to get the social enhancer, and that will unlock new dialogue choices in conversations with NPCs and really streamline the whole process of negotiating and make it a lot easier. However, doing so will change the consequences later in the game depending on how you use it. Along with this, we also want to get a reflex booster, which will allow us to take down multiple enemies, which does become very useful if they're slamming together, such as this. And we can also use it in a lethal situation, in which Adam Jensen becomes more of a dick. We also want to get a leg prosthesis, which will help us jump higher, and an arm prosthesis, which will let us haul heavy objects. Now the downside of this is that when playing b-ball, Adam Jensen can't exactly throw it as well, because he's overpowered. So what we want to do here is we can always pick up a dumpster and lead it over to the hoop and place it right on the ground. Then we can simply just pick up the ball and drop it straight in the hoop. Not exactly a slam dunk, but nonetheless it's still a hoop worth 3 points. And the actual benefit of this is that it's actually an achievement, a secret achievement. And we can also use the arm prosthesis to throw heavy objects such as dumpsters to knock over enemies in a tight situation when need be. But the actual benefit here is the leg prosthesis, and will allow us to jump higher and explore things a lot easier, and which you can use that in tandem with the heavy lifting upgrade, but doing so will allow us to jump on top of the garage and find this, a sniper rifle, some credits, and a pocket which details how someone's trying to start a riot between the protesters and the cops and really create more tension over the whole augmentation. We're not exactly sure whose side they're really on here, but hopefully by confiscating these we can end up giving us a lot more credits that we'll need in the long run, and even calm the riots down a little bit, which will make it easier to navigate areas later on.